Hey everyone, I'm Mark,
And I'm Alex.
and this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks. Welcome everyone to the episode 52. Now, I had to think there for a second because the last one we did on this was actually 50 because we did just do that Blitzball. We're back with the regular playthrough and we're at Djose Temple, man. When we left off, we really didn't do anything at all. We kind of saw it crack open and all that, which was
Yeah.
kind of cool, and that meant a summoner was inside. But dude, I gotta say, the soundtrack here, which is just,
Yeah.
is ridiculously ominous. It's just like, it's like high strains and then it just stops. You're like, what? Is something bad about to happen at any corner? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah, and then it kind of devolves into that do 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 do. Like
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
it's a really weird song. It's kind of hard to describe, but yeah.
Yes,
And the interesting thing is too, this is the only time that you get to hear this. Like if you revisit, it's not the same
that's true.
song. And yeah, it's just kind of
Things
an
have
interesting
changed.
scene too, because it's sort of like I don't want to call it an FMV or something like that, but a little side scene where you can control Titus and everybody else standing still, but you can still run around with him.
So there are a couple of chests here. Just search the opposite sides of the area, and one has 4,000 gil. Another one has 4 ability spheres. What that might actually be nice right now, because I think we actually did mention in the last walkthrough episode was, sometimes this is about the point where you might be getting low. It just really depends on your tactics and what you be getting into, and sometimes just your luck and what enemies you face in battle. But sometimes if you're using all the characters and level up, man, it's like they're brawling each other for those ability spheres. So you can't get
Yeah.
enough of them.
Well, exactly. You go through a lot early game, like right off the bat with Yuna and all of her null abilities, and
Yep.
there's a whole bunch, and especially you just don't really have that many enemies that drop ability spheres, and the
Yeah,
ones
that's
that
true.
do are kind of rare up until Jose.
I think it's off to the left. There is Lucille, Elma, and Clasco. You've kind of seen them pass by you. I mean, it's been impossible to miss. They're still sad. They're still just kind of talking about how they really need to recommit themselves to Yevon and what they did was wrong and all that.
Yeah.
Dude, this is the first time I think you see them, or at least the first time I know some. But there's like these little monkeys on the ground, and it's like they're all over the chocobo. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, seriously, I don't know that you have seen him in the game up until this point.
We'll get another little taste of them in a moment here. Not literally, but we'll see them again here soon, and they'll actually kind of follow you around. It's pretty hysterical. If you did decide to go ahead and get Gata murdered, because keep in mind that blood is on your hands, user, whoever is
You know
controlling
what you did.
Titus. But anyways, Luzu, man, he goes nuts.
Yeah, I don't honestly remember this scene too well because I don't know. I usually just kind of stick with the status quo, right? So in my game,
You just keep
that was here
moving.
instead, of course. So
Yeah.
Luz is kind of an interesting one, but same thing with Gata. Basically, he's just breaking down, and he's just like, "I'm going back to Besaid." Basically, what am I doing here at this point?
And it's interesting with Luzu because, the beef that Waka and him have now, because of the info you learned at Mushroom Rock, it's just kind of going, it's like a running joke now for Waka, I guess. I don't know the fact that he wants to beat him up because he's like, dude, you're too
Oh
depressed.
yeah,
Go back so I can beat you up. And it's like, and Luzu's like, oh, okay. It's like, gosh, man, Dr. Waka, like that's, I want to beat you up, man. Go get better.
yeah. He's a therapist now.
Some little tiny funny tidbits is if you do go into the inn and you talk and you want to rent a room, you can still like stay the night, but the lady tells you you're gonna have to sleep on the floor. Whoo, packed house, man. And then also there's this old dude in the back, and you can see the chest, but unfortunately, dude, he's like, stay away from the summoner all over you, man. Like he does not let you by.
Yeah, and isn't it funny too, like, in classic Final Fantasy fashion, you can just basically be constantly running into him, and he's just standing there, just puts his hand up, and that apparently stops Titus.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
It's like,
all he's doing is just standing. He's like an invisible barrier for the
yeah.
chest.
It's like, dude, move. Yeah. Well, you
Go
can't go
on.
inside. Well, you kind of actually have to go inside the temple itself. So if you do, you don't have to talk to anyone, really. You can kind of plow through. But if you do want to get some little tidbits of info here and there, Orin is directly, like, right there by the door. You talk to him, man, and it's kind of like he's actually doesn't even talk to you. He's like talking to himself out loud, essentially. But he's like, "So you're a
Yeah.
champion of Yevon now, Braska." Because he sees the statue and kind of get the feeling like, yeah, maybe this is actually Orin's kind of first time back in Spira. Was he like seriously in Xanarkand for 10 years, man?
Yeah, he hasn't seen any of this. And that's the other thing too, is when you think about it, this is, even though it's been a minute, it feels like it's been a while since you've gotten Orin. This is actually the first time, you've been into a temple with Orin and the party.
If you move forward up the stairs, it progresses in. It's not Donna inside, man. We get someone else.
Yeah, it's apparently this new summoner that we meet here, Isaru. And it's basically him and his younger brothers or something like that, right? I mean, one's
Yeah.
obviously younger brother. The other one, it seems like they're either like near the same age or he's
He's
slightly
just slightly
younger.
older, it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, so we find out that it wasn't Donna. Basically they just have a chat about, oh, you're Yuna, you're Braska's daughter, da da da. Kind of becomes this competition to defeat Sin, really.
That's essentially. I mean, you get introduced. One's Maroda and Passe. Hey, I'm Paka.
Passe.
Passe or whatever. There's a little kid.
Yeah.
And it's meet and greet. Nothing crazy. It's not a takeaway like you get from Donna. But like Alex alluded to, never fear. Donna is here. So she shows up. But we get dibs. So we're up next. If you once again progress, why is it always Titus? Well, first of all, why is he always last? I walked there. Why can't I be first for the first time? Like he's always the last one, and so everyone's always talking to him. It's like, dude, he's the newbie. All of them talk to you, right? So they pull you aside. You can't move forward. And essentially they just warn him about like summoners are being kidnapped or they're disappearing, that kind of deal. So just keep your eye on it. Titus didn't want to offer up his, like, hey, yeah, by the way, was actually kidnapped the other day and we got her back by Albed. No, we're just gonna, it's one-sided information gathering, I guess. They're fighting a dirty game here, man. I saw Yuna, she cheated at that race up those steps at Killick, and she's cheating now, man. They aren't sharing their info.
Yeah, they're not gonna let the cat out of the bag just yet.
My little tidbit that's funny is, Passe comes over, is like, what you talking about? It's like, dude, you were literally like running circles around there. You were just running, but not actually listening.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny too? I've always thought this. I wonder what they would be like in battle. Like, imagine that team. You've got you got Passe. What is he doing?
What is he doing? Okay, ideally he's a little kid. He's probably throwing stones. If he's hitting you with the sword, I mean, look, man, you would easily be able. It's a child. It's not gonna go well.
Maybe he's like Cinna. Maybe he has a hammer or something like that. I don't know.
But regardless, yes. Now you do kind of get free roam and all this fun stuff. There are 2 rooms. One has a Mega Phoenix, which that's pretty nice. The other one has Remedy, which is also nice. But lastly, if you just want to go up, do the Cloister. Here's the thing, the temples here are going to start to get to too many steps, too many direction stuff to even talk about. So if you're really that curious, you can just follow a guide and do that. It's quite easy and simple, this one. I mean, you just essentially got to light up some symbols. But if you do get all the way to the destruction sphere and you get that, you'll get a nice magic sphere. And man, honestly, it's kind of needed right now. I feel like, a nice boost in magic would be great.
It kind of depends on who you give this to. The obvious choice would be Lulu for most people, I think. But, I mean, depends on, I guess, who your primary magic user is.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of only have, like, 2 choices, right? Unless you're deciding to do something interesting. But Yuna or Lulu, and honestly, I mean, Cure is healing for quite a bit. So, you might as well just crank out some more damage anyways.
Helps you get the overkills as well.
Yeah. Once you head in, Yuna's in there. She's going to pray. Donna just comes right in too. I guess anyone can just come and show up, as long as you're like, that place could be packed some days. I guess you come out and you're like, dang, like they have like a barbecue going. There's like some ribs out. I don't know. I mean, because what do you do with them if it just like packs? But she comes in. She's just always rude. She's never like she can never just not even not say anything. That would be even better. But Barthelo, dude, one of the funniest points in the game. I love this scene.
Yeah, he goes up to Orin, and then what does Donna say at that point? She's just like, this riffraff or something,
Yeah.
right? You are Orin. No? Can I shake your hand?
This is his number 1 fan. You learn
Yeah.
it. Orin's the reason that this young chap, this strapping young musclehead, became a guardian. You learn that. Orin is like laughing. He's like, I've touched another soul. Yes. Yeah, but
It's hilarious.
Waka man, lazy. Like you're calling one of Lord Braska's guardians riffraff. They're like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Does it's like crap.
And how about Lulu here? She really shows her teeth, right? She's just like, and you call yourself a summoner? It's like, dang, man, that's...
Boom. Only way to kind of progress this is you have to kind of just like leave the room. Like after all these scenes progress all the way and all that, you go out. Yuna comes out. She's still quite exhausted, leaning, has to fall on Kamari. So, it's not quite as bad as the Besaid one, but Donna doesn't approve.
Yeah, it's pretty much like, you owe much to your father. I mean, you basically get to go through life privileged as Lord Braska's daughter, right? Somebody who's famous. Yeah, she's just like really, I don't know.
Bitter.
She basically is jealous of her. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the best way to put it.
Because that she's not physically able to, like, I don't know, recover after whatever that is. that she owes a lot to her father for that. I don't know, because, whatever. It's Donna. So Donna goes in, you go out, but you get a new Aeon. This one is pretty cool. It's the, Lightning Horse Ixion.
Yeah, it's kind of like a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's the Lightning Elemental Aeon. Pretty sweet. I mean, I don't know. It depends on if you're doing a challenge run or something, you probably use Aeons if that's allowable. I like to use them every once in a while, but, the kind of nice thing, I guess, with the past two that we've gotten, Ixion and Ifrit, is that they actually have magic that can heal themselves, so...
Yeah. Anyway, story progresses, and, everyone's rested. You're finally waking up. Hey, well, everyone's ready except for womp, sleepyhead Yuna. Aw, man.
Apparently she was up all night, sending the fallen, and healing the wounded or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so, Titus basically has to go in there, wake her up, and she's all panicking, trying to get ready, because she's
well,
like,
and it's morning. It's
already?
morning. It's like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Calm down.
There's a problem here. I mean, we got a summoner with bed hair.
Yeah,
So
I mean, so they all just start laying into her with like one-liners about her sleeping and treating her like she's literally 5 years old. It's like, oh, great. Can we just go now? After you lady, combs her hair.
Yeah, and then there's an interesting part too there where Titus says, and we don't really know what this means yet, that he realized later on that he was the only one who was really laughing in these situations. We'll find out what that means.
So anyways, you could go outside the inn, and the old man's not there anymore protecting the chest. So if you go get it, is a switch hitter. I believe it has, what is it, strength +5 and strength +3, so...
Yeah, I think so. It's not that great. So combined strength +8%.
Yeah.
I
mean,
right.
if you need something that's non-elemental, there you go, because he does have a lot of strikes and stuff. And then kind of just some things as you're leaving. You can talk to some more people. Some have items, some have stories. So just some of those things is if you just talk to some of the people, you will get a halberd rather. And dude, this thing, it's interesting if you use Kamari for damage because it has magic +20%. So most people probably won't use this weapon, but you actually have a pretty interesting way that you may have used it.
Well, I mean, like, I played this game a bunch of times, so I decided kind of, with Kamari, he's a little bit of a hybrid character. You can take him down a whole bunch of different paths. Like, you can make him basically a physical attacker with Waka's abilities, Titus's abilities, so on and so forth. But this time I actually decided to make him into a magic user, so Halberd actually was useful. And it was pretty good. Magic +20% is decent, especially, we'll talk about this later too, but if you can get another ability on that, then it's a really nice weapon.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a kind of different one for him. So, it's just kind of interesting that they did put something in there to support, like, if you did take Kamari down a magic using path.
Exactly. The other thing, the really big thing with this weapon too, is it doesn't have piercing.
Yeah, it's
won't not really useful. Yeah, it's not really useful as a physical weapon.
And, well, you do get also 2 high potions, 10 regular potions. They just keep giving you this stuff. And you had a question for me earlier, man. You asked me on Kamari updates because my playthrough is I'm still only using Yuna, Lulu, and Kamari. I'm only using those three. It's actually going pretty interesting. So I just now, through the course of doing the story through this episode, I got haste for him. So I took him down Titus's first. I had to get haste and flee. And then I just used a return sphere to take him back down to kind of the middle area. And I'm going to go down and get steal and use. And so
Nice.
I'll do that, and then I have some more return spheres because I'm in Blitzball, man, guys. Let me tell you, Blitzball, it's great if you need to move around that grid fast.
Yeah, that's crazy. How many did you get?
I've so far I think I've gotten like 6 because they've been luckily they haven't just been like the first place reward, they've been top scorers, and so I've been getting Dado and Titus Skied, and so I get Tied rather, and so I get 2 each one, and so it's not bad. But yeah, it's going quite well. He's hitting well enough. He's doing enough damage, and like I said, kind of just having 3 people. It's more concentrated with all my stuff, so all of them are actually kind of beast mode right now. It's pretty funny. I have a teleport sphere that I'm going to use on Yuna and get her just all the tier 2 magics, and then I'll return sphere back to her line, and yeah, so it'll be pretty fun, man.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty good. Definitely. I mean, I find it depends on like your RNG luck, I guess, with the prizes because I don't know, return spheres, they show up every once in a while, but like, with the problem is the leagues, they're pretty much once you see those, it's set in stone. Tournaments you can reset just by not playing the tournament and, doing a certain amount of battles and things like that. But
well,
yeah,
so
kinda luck
you're
of the
you're
draw.
describing a fast tactic to get them. Yes, me, I just like playing Blitzball, so I'll just do all the games and just
There you go.
get it eventually. But on that note, there is a Blitzball player here. So the guy that will give you 10 potions, he is also a Blitzball player named Caillou.
I was just gonna say
Q?
how this is
Cow?
like a whole conversation topic in and of itself. I
don't
always used
know.
to say it as Q. I know that's kind of weird, but it's basically Kyou, right? So how would you say
Maybe
that? So it's
they're
either
saying it more.
Caillou,
Maybe take it more just KU. Like
Ku.
okay,
Yeah,
you. KU.
Caillou.
But anyways,
I don't know.
he's interesting. So you'd probably most likely use him as a defender starting out because his attack actually starts at, I think it's like 14. It's something pretty nice.
Yeah.
Or actually it starts at 15. And so that's pretty nuts, but just be warned, it doesn't grow until, to a while, and it only reaches 44, which isn't very high. So,
Yeah.
he is better than Bada or Jasu though. So just in general and everything, he's faster, he's got 71 speed.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, I know that like, and he's caused me major issues when he's on the other team. A lot of times, especially early, like you said, he's got that crazy attack, which is,
Yeah,
even if it doesn't grow at the early stages, is insane.
it is.
And
It's
he
a lot.
comes with some really good abilities too, I think. So
Yeah.
Caillou is really annoying if another team signs him. Pretty darn good.
Yeah. And again, if you're just kind of looking to play some beginning games and you don't even want to do it too much, maybe just enough to get reels or something, it's not many more people start better than that as a defending. Players, as we come across, we'll just kind of analyze like we did right there. And as if you're aware, and if you hopefully you enjoyed our Blitzball episodes, we're just gonna do more in-depth analysis on players. Like we would we'll go over individual starting abilities and things like that, and more detailed stats, and actually give you more numbers. So look forward to that. But anyways, you got to leave this whole area. On the way, you will also get another scene with Lucille and Elma, and they're discussing their plans to get more chocobos. I think they're talking about going north or something like that. Titus, and let me tell you, man, I am pretty sure on this. Now, I might be wrong. Maybe someone will prove me wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the first spoken reference because we do get that message from that guy that didn't know how a wimp like Clasco could be knighted. But this is the first spoken reference that even acknowledges Clasco's existence because Titus goes, "Aren't you missing someone?" And they look around, they're like, "Say, we are missing someone. What's his name again?" And then that's it. And then after that, they start using Clasco nonstop. Like it's insane.
And I love how he runs up. You expect me to keep up with a chocobo?
Dude, he wasn't high road, man. I mean, seriously, he
did
was
before,
he
yeah.
was doing fine. So maybe he just pulled a hammy, man. He woke up, he's like, "Oh no way, man! Like the journey's only begun." Oh,
No complaints. No.
Yeah,
Just
no
keep running.
complaints.
You're not getting Chocobo.
Like, dude, you're knighted, and this is the Chocobo Knights, pal. Like, come on.
Deal with it.
Well, for us, the only way to go is essentially you got to go back to kind of the Djose High Road, and then just take the opposite exit rather on the left. Take that, and now you're kind of into the Moonflow. So you'll encounter mostly all of the same enemies. The Ochu is now present here. We didn't talk about it last episode, but essentially he's what? He's weak to fire, and man, let me tell you, the only thing that's kind of just annoying, it's not really dangerous. It can, depending, but it's not usually that dangerous, is the Ochu dance, man. That is just, it's not fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is kind of the part in the game where these guys start getting really annoying. Ochu has a lot of HP.
Yeah, it's like
I
7,000
think
or
it's
something.
like, yeah, it's like 6 or 7,000. And the other annoying thing that I hate about dealing with Ochu is every single one of his attacks has pretty much, it seems like 100% chance of
Yes.
inflicting poison, which is just, like I said, he's a
Each
really
time.
annoying enemy. So like you said, he's also got Ochu Dance, which busts out in certain situations. But
It seems like he just does it anytime. I think it's
yeah,
almost, or maybe it's a much higher rate if his health is low, but
yeah,
he'll use it when his health is higher. And I mean, it
yeah,
does darkness, silence, confusion, and slow.
yeah,
Possible for all of them. And I mean, the confusion's the only dangerous one. The rest you could easily just remove with status effects or Asuna. But
yeah.
still, it's just like it just slows you down big time.
Yeah, a couple of ways to deal with this guy. So if you got the TKO, that can work on him. Actually, is probably the easiest way to deal with Ochu is just to petrify him with the TKO if you can. Another thing you can do is use sleep attack. That should work, and then you can just sit there and use fire or Fira and kill him.
If you do use Fyra, if you're at that point, it does about 1600. So, I mean, you will drain them pretty
Pretty decent.
quickly. They're not particularly difficult. It's just more annoying, I guess. Especially, like you mentioned, the poison. Anyways,
that is annoying.
there's some additional ones. You got the Garm Wolf, which is just another wolf type, pretty, fast and all that. Snow Flan and just use fire, just another regular flan. And then that shell enemy, Bunny Ip, one-shot kills. It's pretty easy stuff.
Yeah, they're just armored. That's the main thing with those.
All right, well, all these things that we're going to talk about are just, kind of as you move down these paths. Shalinda's the first up. Here we go again, man. She's just back to talking about Yevon, how we should have obeyed it and all this. And it's like, man, come on, lady. I'm just tired of you. You're more wishy-washy than a washing machine. Like, you're just sitting there going back and forth with your choices. Oh, you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, I'll support them and I'll stand by their decision. Oh, yeah, no, they shouldn't. Come on. You can't. No, this is why we don't like Shalinda, the Acolyte.
I'm just a lowly acolyte.
A lowly acolyte.
I think she will heal though. I don't know. I forget with Shalinda. Maybe she just talks.
Maybe talk to her again or something. And
she is, what basically exactly what you're saying. It's like, everybody's got to repent. We should have never believed in the forbidden machina as a solution to the problem.
Yes. If you, kind of just move right past her, actually, there's a chest with 3 more level 1 key spheres. So there's laying on you. Do not be afraid of using them to unlock those.
Yeah,
just get some extra stuff. Like I said,
I
did out with Lulu, it was an extra 8 defense and some health. It was great. It was fantastic. So do it, get those. As you move further down, you got B-Run and Yankee, and dude, I don't know, they're just giving it to some random traveler, it looks like they're kind of intimidating him. He's looking nervous, I saw some beating sweat on his forehead. I'm just saying, but he runs off. I don't think they saw the party coming up. Maybe they did. What it appeared to me was that they had no clue Kamari was near. They were just using a Kamari insult as daily use, man. They just. You're as weak as Kamari, it seems like that feast was as terrible as Kamari, it just feels like they use it a daily thing. It's quite kind of hysterical, man.
I love how they're Kamari's, you come to insult Kamari. Wrong. We come to warn little Kamari. They're harsh, man.
Yeah, they're talking about. So that's what they did come here. They came to warn Kamari once again. Summoners are disappearing, but they weren't really warning him out of the kindness of their heart. They're like, you're gonna be summonerless. They're gonna steal your summoner. Pitiful Kamari, howl alone, howl alone. Dude,
that's such a classic line. I love it.
Yeah.
I wonder. That's actually something I gotta look up. I need to at some point look up who actually did the voice acting for those because it's awesome. Like B-Ron and Yankee.
Yeah, no, that is pretty good. Once again, though, right behind this comic conversation, well, I think it'll clear out. There's another treasure chest. This one has an X potion in it, so just more kind of stuff. Further along, on the right, is another chest with 3 more level 1 key spheres. So it's
Yeah.
like, geez, man, okay, we get the hint, and it's like,
They're
thanks. I mean, I'll
basically
take them. I'm happy, but yikes, so
Yeah,
many.
they're basically telling you at this point, use them. And if you're getting in battles along the way, use your summons or your Aeons and get some of those overdrives up. Because coming
Yep.
up here, we got another round with Belgamine.
In this one, I'd say is much easier than the first battle is, but
Yeah.
same tactics help. So starting with an overdrive, either through a grand summon or just an individual, and you only really need 2 Hellfires to win. So if you
Yeah.
start off by 1, you will take quite a bit of damage from Ixion, but it's not quite as bad. It's a nice thing because you're a fire and you have fire. You can just cast on yourself and it heals for, I don't know, man. It's like what, 400 or 500?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Just watch out, I guess, like the one thing I will say, the delay after the overdrive can be pretty harsh, and what tends to happen is Ixion, if he loses a certain amount of HP, will actually use haste on himself. Something to watch out, but if it does go down, you can also call in Valefor. So if
Yeah.
you have, say, an overdrive on Valefor, or Ifrit call them and then Grand Summon, then you can wipe them out, just like you said, even if your Aeon gets taken out himself.
Yeah. And it's pretty easy because, like I said, I mean, anytime you have a turn for it, just heal yourself. Because, yep, Ixion, I mean, he used haste his first turn with mine, and he attacked like 4 times in a row. But it wasn't that bad, Ifrit's much more hardy than Valefor is, and so if you use a fire, it's fine. And honestly, I just kept doing that until I got an overdrive again. It only took like a few times, and boom, second Hellfire wiped him out, easy peasy. No matter what happens, win or lose, you do get what's called Summoner Soul. We'll get to that in a second. If you win, you get 2 Dragon Scales, and if you lose, you get 6 Smoke Bombs. So you're like, cool.
Yeah, I mean, either way useful though, because
Yeah.
you'll find out like those smoke bombs are pretty good.
Here we go, man. We got a cool new thing, Summoner Soul. You can actually use different items that range from like just, potions to things like Dragon Scales, Smoke Bombs, and to many, many other things to teach new abilities to your Aeons. So I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I'm in the same boat with you. I don't really use Aeons hardly ever. Might pull them out just to do it for fun or whatever, but it's just it's a little more efficient to just use the players. So I usually just do that. But I do like how you can kind of shape them a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Some can be really useful. The other thing I will say is probably at this stage in the game don't have the items to teach them much of anything useful, to be honest, at this point. Like, for example, Cure, it takes a ton of high potions, and by a ton I mean literally 99. So it's like, things
seriously.
like that you're not really going to be able to do at this point feasibly.
It's not that big of a deal either, It's not going to be a game
Right. Well,
changer.
that's pretty much the only one I think is the most useful is Ifrit, who can heal himself. You've got Ixion, he can heal himself. So Cure on Valefor is pretty nice. You can also teach him. So if you've got Kamari in your ceiling, you can teach him a lot of the null abilities pretty easily, like null fire or null blaze, null frost, things like that.
Yeah, and so that's a new kind of thing for us. So just keep that in mind as you collect different items. Further along the path, and on the left is a chest with magic defense. And dude, I like your notes here. Give it to Oran, Walker, Titus, or Kamari, because Kamari's is like 7 or something. I'm sure there's some of theirs is worse, but oh my gosh.
Honestly, it doesn't matter who you give it to. Like, for example, I give it to Titus. He has 9 magic defense. He still gets wrecked with magic, so it doesn't really matter. But, Oren's another good candidate. He just keeps getting, like, his sphere grid. I don't understand. They give you so many magic defense +1. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, wow. 1 point, that's really going to change your life,
His coat's very flammable, so they're like, we can't grow him very much. And he's also carrying like a jug of XXX, distilled moonshine. So, it's like, we can't do it. No, it is pretty funny because it almost trolls you like that, right? So, regardless, it's kind of like classic Final Fantasy. More physical characters have lower magic defense, so if you can boost theirs, it's usually a little bit more helpful. You could also go the other way and just give it to one of your higher ones and just boost theirs, and they'll just take less and less magic,
Yeah.
damage. And so,
Because Waka doesn't get any magic defense for a really long time. Like his
yeah, I
stays at
know.
5 for just forever.
You got that decision to make, but if you go onto the next screen, we do finally get introduced to what's called the Moonflow, which is like it's a river. And there's a bunch of fireflies, it's really cool looking. Titus is just like blown away. He's like, oh, this is really cool. I will say, man, this time when I was watching this and I was thinking about that because, they say that fireflies like light up at night, it looks like the stars twinkling in the sky or something like that. And I'm just thinking like, dude, so don't they turn into fiends? Isn't that why you have to send? Is it only people killed by sin have to be sent? Because I don't know, and we can't get too much into this, all right? So we can't give two things away. But I'm just thinking these things. This is a river full of fireflies. Fireflies manifest into fiends. Dude, what's going on here, guys? Like, let's send this. Like, summoners, clean this up.
Well, we got plenty of fiends anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Here's your source right here. Why there's so many monsters in the world. You got a river that's just full of fireflies. No one's doing anything about it. No, anyways, that was just a thought. It's kind of interesting. You go to the next, and the word Shoopuff gets brought up, and you're like, "What's a Shoopuff?" And then Titus finds one out, man. You get to see the Shoopuff. I don't know how to. It's like a giant elephant thing with a trunk that's like 15 times as long.
Pretty much, it's like. I guess that's pretty much the easiest way to. Yeah, it's just a giant elephant.
All right. Why would it need why does it need it that long? What is it using it for? Is it picking like fruit off of like 50 feet trees?
Well, we'll find out a little bit. I think
Okay, all right.
Machin is hanging around here. He kind of tells you about that, and it's something like they basically act like whales or something like that. They pick up plankton and algae through their giant schnoz, apparently, or something.
Well, there you go. So they need to reach all the way down. Okay.
There's also a waka here too.
Yep, Awaka's here. We also get a look into the Hypello species, which is really interesting. They're kind of like frogs, bug-eyed frogs almost.
Yep.
Kind of, it's interesting. They have a very funny way of talking, man.
Yeah, how do I explain the way they talk? We'll find out in a little bit when there's a classic line with the Shoopuff, but it's like their own dialect.
Yeah,
it's a very, very
it's
weird
lazy.
Way.
Regardless, it is great. We love it, so it's a good thing. There are a ton of vendors, both here and kind of at the North Wharf. We're at the South Wharf right now. They all in all, they do have some various things, and they do have a lot of things. I'm not impressed by really anything. I guess look at it, depend on what your play style is and all that, go for it, but I didn't buy anything.
Yeah, it's really expensive, and it's not that good. Like, the main things I would look out for, a couple of the different ones sell Poison Ward type stuff.
Okay.
So like serum armlet, I think serum ring, stuff like that. That can be worth it. But they're weapons, dude. I don't even understand what they were thinking. Like, who buys? There's a dude that's selling a weapon for Auron called the Blurry Moon that just has piercing and dark touch. He's selling it for like 10,000 gil or something. It's just, it doesn't even make
thousands.
It's like,
yeah. Around that same area, there's a few different areas here. There's just like, I don't know, like a bench, and then there's like where the Hypello is with the giant Shoopuff, and then there's kind of like a, I don't know, rest area looking thing. And so there's tons of people here that, so all around, I'm not exactly where some of this stuff is, but it's here, right? There's a chest with 2 Phoenix Downs, which I guess that's kind of cool. It's kind of near where Owaka is. And then you kind of get the scene with the Chocobo Knights, and they're not allowed to cross. It's impossible. Impossible.
Yeah. I love how he's like, no, it's bad idea, yes?
Yeah, having a giant chocobo on top of the Shoopuff, maybe? I don't know. Titus does is like, it is big. You'll see there is kind of quite a bit of room, but, they realize it's got a point, so, they're like, you gotta go find another route. Class Code is not happy, man. He's like, oh my gosh, like, I gotta keep running after a chocobo.
Yeah, and
don't blame him.
She has a classic line here, right, where she says, if there's a will, there's a way, and then there's a little, cutaway to Titus basically doing his narration thing. He's like, yeah, you know what? She was right.
It's like all these good words of advice are finally sticking with us. Is this kid never listening to good advice in all those years in Zanarkand?
He's
What
never
was
heard that
like
before.
what in the world? All right, regardless, in the same area, I think this is kind of like the rest area, like the big area with a lot of people. There's a chest with 5,000 gil, so definitely pick that up. This is where Machen is, so he will give you that
Yeah.
story on the Shoopuffs and all that. And you get kind of a funny little thing if you talk to Lulu, I think, or maybe it is to talk to Waka, but if you talk to either one of them, Waka is kind of like excited to run, and he's like, some things little boys just don't grow out of, and so the little boy Titus and Waka are so excited to go on this shoe puff ride, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like she's like, "Shoopuff isn't that exciting. How little you know."
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, exactly.
something
It's
little
like,
boys never grow out of. And they're like, "Right?"
and then you can get one last little kind of tidbit about Jen. Actually, if you talk to Orin, he tells a story Titus doesn't want to hear, but he does tell it about how just the drunkard Jet. So they made it this far, and the dude's still just drinking. I mean, we don't know where they started, but he's just getting wasted, going around Spiro with his homies, and he sees the shoe puff, I guess, and just uses slice and dice. Man, he hits it right in the middle. He gets all 6 slices, and they had to give all their earnings to the poor high pillow. And well, here's the tidbit. I guess it did sober him up, right? In his bloodlust, he just saw this thing. He was like, ah! I mean, like, what do you do? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, he thought
It
it was a
clearly
fiend or something
looks
like that. Yeah.
domesticated. Like there's infrastructure in place here for a ride and a lift. Like it's very obvious what this is, man.
And the funny thing is, then Orin was like, "It appears that Shoopuff still works here." Right? And you see that one basically on screen, and it's got a giant scar on his
Yeah.
back leg. I'm also thinking too, man, dude, Jack's sword, like how I mean, that's a giant cut.
Dude, they need to
How did
make
he do
they need to
that?
make armor out of shoe puff hide. There's gonna be
Seriously.
a massacre in shoe puffs here for their leather because goodness gracious, yeah, sword didn't go through it.
Crazy.
Well, anyways, enough of the kind of funniness aside, but yeah, that did sober Jet up. He says that Jet never drank since that day, so hey, maybe he
Was
finally
the
did turn a
final straw.
page. Last thing to do is to talk to High Pillow, and he goes, "Risey shoe puff," and
There's
so
the line. Yeah, it's classic. I
you
love
want to
it.
write it?
Right,
Yes, we do want to write it. Go write it.
yeah. Right, Shoopuff?
Oh man, it's great stuff. We love this game. All right, so in this, we're just getting some story. Waka kind of like points to Ty's like, yo, look down below, and you see like these ruins and stuff, and he gives kind of thing about another just Machina city that's 1,000 years old, and it's sunken at the bottom of this thing. And what he gives a story with it is like they built these bridges over this, so it was a structure they were building over the water. And he knows exactly why, right? I mean, Titus is like, well, it could be convenient, all that water. There's no why. How do you know, man? How do you? He's like, he built it because they could. Their arrogance. It's like,
To try and
well,
define
how do
nature,
you
yeah, that
know,
kind
man? Maybe this was the only clean source of water 1,000 years ago. Yeah, I mean, you didn't know that.
yeah. I don't know about
Well,
that.
he kind of has firsthand experience, right? Xanarkand was built over the water, also. So
Exactly, and then basically, he asked Walka, is like, "Okay, well, why is using the forbidden Machina even all that bad? Like, what happened?" And they go on to explain that 1,000 years ago, there was a devastating Machina war between Xanarkand and Bavel, essentially.
yeah, and they
And
kept building.
they kept making more and more powerful machina until they were powerful enough to destroy the world. And so at that point, they had to basically, put into place something to stop that from happening.
Titus is kind of like he's confused, right? He's like, well, so why is some good and not? Because like you guys use Machina, I'm seeing other Machina. He's like, remember Operation Mihen? That kind.
That
Hold
kind.
up, dude. I've been seeing all kinds of guards with guns. That is
Yeah,
Machina. So
Gavin
like
guard.
guns are okay as long as it's the church guards. Imagine that.
It's got to be
Or
blessed by the rabbi.
yeah, that gun to protect me is blessed. That cannon to kill our worst enemy is not blessed.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Because to me, it has a lot of real world connotations. If I guess it's sort of modeled like the Catholic Church
Yeah.
in medieval Europe and things like that, where basically things were taboo just because, right? And it's that same kind of thing in this regard where it's completely hypocritical. They're using the Machina themselves, but of course there's always exceptions to the rule that they just can make up as they go.
Yep.
So it's an interesting concept that they put this in Final Fantasy X like that.
And they've put in, it's a very common kind of traditional Final Fantasy story theme, you know, like
Yeah.
Tactics comes to mind, something like that. Final Fantasy 12 is
Hmm.
kind of similar. You get kind of that all that history, and next thing you know, like I don't know, something bumps into the Shoopuff. You don't really, it's just rumbling. You don't know what's going on, and then like just some dude just ninjas in from I don't from where, who knows, but just ninjas
The
in and
roof
like
or
stakes,
something. Yeah.
steals Yuna, jumps into the water. Man, you gotta count your boys Titus and Waka though, dude. They just without a hesitation just turn and dove right in after her. And so
Yeah.
here you
Well,
go.
nobody else can swim, so,
I know.
Auron
Well,
and Lulu, they're all
yeah.
sitting
Come on.
there
What
like,
about
"Oh,
Kamari though, man? What is Ron? They have a blitzball team. I don't care if he's
you know how
slower.
slow they
Like get
are?
in the water, man. You know, we'll at least
You'll
slow him
never
for
get
you.
there." So this is the part, yeah, basically Yuna gets kidnapped again. I mean, here we go again,
Oh
and
man.
here we go with a boss battle, the
Yes.
Extractor. And basically it's like this giant, it's kind of like the Machina that we fought back at Luca, but this time underwater and then basically with like a little air bubble that's got
Okay.
Yuna trapped
Yeah.
inside.
And you do only have Waka and Titus, and so as I was heading into this, I just thought to myself, well, crap, because I have not used Waka or Titus, and they literally have not moved one space on their sphere grid. So,
Oh, that's right.
it was a little, I did have some items because I've also been selling the gear because I haven't been using it, and so, I just I
Yeah.
equipped what I could, and we managed. I'll get to that in a moment, but. This enemy, so he is lightning weak. He has some effect, kind of like a aqua shooter or something like that. So he does have kind of like
Yep.
water element attacks, but he is lightning weak and immune to pretty much every status effect. So don't even worry about blind or silence or anything like that. It won't even work. Honestly, the only thing for me, especially in my experience with that, I really had to watch out for is depth charges. He kind of goes up
Yeah.
above. You can kind of know that it's happening, and if you don't do enough damage to it, he'll drop it. He'll attack your whole party, and it does. For me, it was around like 400 damage. That's really it. I mean, if
Yeah.
you have developed characters, that wouldn't really be that big a deal at all. And the way to stop it is to also cause enough damage. So I guess
I
the
think
only
it's 500.
okay.
I
I was gonna
believe it's
ask you if you knew that
500.
because I never reached that, and so I got depth
Yeah,
charged every time.
it's tricky. I think the one things I will say, I tend not to have a lightning strike weapon for Titus for some reason, but
Okay.
what I usually do have, and if you've been getting the treasures, you should have this too. It's a scout weapon for Waka with lightning strike. The trick with this though is that you've got to have that equipped at the Moonflow because of course once you get into those scenes, you don't have time to access
Yeah,
the
that's
menu.
right.
So
You gotta
you
prep
get that
for it.
going, and then I guess the only other thing is, it's only walk and Titus, so the only other thing you can do is haste and cheer times 5, and
Yep.
that's pretty much all you can do.
You won't have to really worry too much again if you've been developing them. It's
He's
not a
got
really
4,000.
yeah,
It's not
it's not very much health. And then for me, I mean, depth charges were kind of also a blessing in disguise because it got Waka's, overdrive up and attack reels, man. Saved my
Oh, there you
butt.
go.
It did about 1200
Yeah.
damage because it was only hitting for like 100, 120. And so, it would take off a chunk and then I would just have to hurry up and high potion over and over again and then use it. And so I was able to get them. I got a screenshot. My dudes were not too well at the end, but regardless, when you take him out, you will get 2 Mega Phoenix. So you now have 3, I think, and so that's pretty cool. You're just getting these good items. I think there's a little bit more story. It's just kind of telling you to sit down, stop getting up and moving around and all that stuff, and it just kind of goes on. And now you're at the North Wharf.
Yeah, exactly. And now here, basically, there's only 2 sections. You're at the main section right now. And if you just look at, or no, actually, sorry, I think it starts you over at the right section. So you've got a save point, and you basically got that huge crowd around
Yep.
Yuna. You can
Yep.
go talk to them. They're all just talking about how, oh, the summoner, da da da. The real thing that you don't want to miss here, it can be kind of hard to see, is on the screen to the left with the loading ramp for the Shoopuff. You can actually see Albed Primer 12, I believe,
Yes.
sort of at the top there, so
Yep,
watch out for
not
that.
not the stairs, but the smooth ramp. It's the large
Right.
one. It's up there. It blends. They usually always blend in color, but this one is a little bit
Yeah,
easier to actually visually see. So that's that.
yeah.
If you go over one more screen, it's the one with the bench, and I believe she's actually sitting on the bench. Is Miyu, I guess is how you'd say it, the Blitzball player. This one's interesting. So starting out, and this is kind of, again, how you want to play. If you only want to play for a little bit, some of these players are really interesting or good, but maybe not long term. So she starts out with 15 endurance, which is quite a bit, 14 attack. So again, like just the last 3 people you gotten, they're really telling you like, hey, you probably want to replace Jasu and Bada. They suck because they give you Rop, Caillou, and or Kaio or whatever, and Miyu. I mean, come on. But here's the other thing. She has 11 catch, so that is better than Keepa, and it is mostly a replacement for Keepa. They'll stay about the same. Keepa will actually eventually keep her, but she only ends at 37 catch, so not good. You wouldn't want to use it for a goalie. At the end, attack does end with 63, which is pretty nice, but dude, it stays so that 14 attack that you get really excited about, it doesn't really grow at all through like until like 40. It goes up a couple, so it doesn't stay high. And until 70, then it kind of kicks up.
Yeah, she's a little bit, so she's better than Keepa, but not as good as Jamal, who we talked about as
Jamal, I'm not quite sure. I haven't really kind of looked at his that much, but it's the starting amount and growing. Keepa, I think, passes Jamal around like level 20, 25.
Yeah.
Because he's not actually that bad. I mean, he's not like among the best, but he's definitely above average, amazingly. And so,
well, yeah, the tough part
it's just he
starting out
starts so low, and
it's
so
low.
yeah.
He also doesn't have super goalie. I do know Miyu, I believe, also does come with super goalie. So if you're lacking a goalie, if you're tied to Keepa, Miyu's a solid choice.
Yeah.
I've used her before on that, and he's pretty darn good. So
and it grows too. I mean, as well as endurance. So she ends high with 74 endurance. That's pretty good. You don't need like super crazy high because not many people have crazy high attack. And so endurance and catch, they do kind of grow. So, she starts at, again, 11 catch, ends at 37. Not much, but it does kind of grow consistently. It's not like one of those where it just doesn't do anything and then all of a sudden, like, goes up. It does kind of go consistently, which is, again, why you could use her for a goalie. But, dude, she has 7 block at the end. So, level 99, 7 block. Yeah. I checked all of them. It is the worst out of all Blitzball players, which sucks really because her good stat at this point, you're thinking, okay, well, maybe a defender, 63 attack. Well, 7 block, no way, man. You can't make it now. I mean, that's you can't be having that. That's just 7. I mean, come on.
Unfortunately, that's like a lot of players where they might have one stat that's good. You know what I mean? It's good enough, but the other ones are just so poor that you can't hardly use them. Like, for example, as a defender or like as a forward, you would think with that kind of endurance, but her shoot is just not going to be anywhere comparable to be able to do that. So
these new players, you can definitely take them, test them out. Yeah, they'll be good. I mean, she's going to kick butt for the first few games. You better believe it. Like, oh my gosh, 14 attack. Anyways, right next to the bench where she is sitting is another chest that has an ether in it, so pick that up. And then you get to the next screen, and you're just going, you're like, oh, okay, there's just some dead person on the ground. Okay, I'm going to go by because it's not my business. I don't want to touch this person. She's dead. And you go by, and nope, you can't go by. Somehow you're blocked by a strong, sweet voice, I guess, is what holds me back. Every time I try to leave, something keeps holding me back. I mean, it's Riku's voice, man. Wait up, you big meanie.
I like how you get that scene, where she's taking off her wetsuit or something like that, and Ty's just sitting there like,
he's like,
oh.
He gets visibly surprised multiple times throughout that. He's like, whoa.
What?
She's just doing this right here. Do you want me to turn around? You don't care? No, I mean, it's just like kind of an outer swimsuit. It is pretty funny. You might notice at the beginning, but pretty soon you find out, hey, it's Rikku.
Yeah, and I like the way the dialogue goes here is like, you're not dead?
Yeah, when he first gets it, you get to see it. Yeah, then he's like, hey, you're Rikku. Like, hey, what's going on? How you been? And, he doesn't realize it was her, apparently, which you'll get in the next line. She was like in that machine, so she was
That's what I was always wondering.
Yeah, she was driving the extractor, so she was that. Apparently, beating that up beat her up. So he's like, "How you been?" She's like, "Terrible," because it's like you just beat me up. But this is kind
Yeah.
of interesting though, because now you do get, based on the story and everything, she's in on kidnapping Yuna, which we're now just piecing it together is summoners, right? So we know it's Albad, and it's like, whoa, and Rikku was part of that. Apparently, not a big deal. We're not worrying about right now, because here comes, you don't have time, because, here comes Waka and crew, and dude, you love this part. I'm going to hand it off to you, my
Yeah.
friend.
So they come over and Waka's like, a friend of yours? It's like, yeah, this is Rikku. This is the girl that helped me out before I got washed up on Besaid. She's an Albert.
And Lulu and Yuna are like doing like, oh, he just spilt
They're
the
like, oh,
beans,
yeah.
face palming it. And we love this part because what other two words put together in all of Spira sound like okay. Albert? Is that what you're trying to say? I mean, come on, dude. Wonka is dumb as rocks, man. Like, he doesn't pick it up.
Pick up on it.
Doesn't pick it up, but it is pretty funny because, stop myself. Can't say it.
I know, I love that.
I don't really understand this next part. The girls want to have girl talk. I don't know why, because you soon find out they're basically just discussing that they want Rikku to be a guardian. I don't know why that needed to be girl talk. Waka didn't like that though. He almost kind of had a brother moment, brother from Final Fantasy X2, which if you know, that dude is a creep and a weirdo. But Waka's like, huh? And then he's like, like, oh man, I wanted to be a part of the girl talk.
Yeah, he's like, what? I don't get to be part of the girl talk. Oh, okay. So I've always wondered who asked.
Well, here's the thing too. We'll find out a little bit more, but to not give away too much, but they are related, and so they might actually know each other to an extent of word of mouth or realizing it's a relative or something like that. So we won't go into too much. It's a little bit of spoilers. Try not to give too much away. But Waka doesn't like it, and again, they want to have Rikku as a guardian, so they ask Orin. Orin's like, this girl kind of sucks. Are you sure? Riku's like, yeah, I'm sure. And so, boom, that's what you get.
Basically, so you get that scene. You do get Rikku now. She comes into the party very, very weak at this point. That's the real problem. Is that of course you haven't done any sphere grid development with her since the very beginning of the game. So she's usually coming in with 360
it's
HP
very
or
low.
something. But you get a little tutorial battle here.
You do. No matter what, if you just move forward at this point along the path, it does its normal thing, and there's a treasure chest, and you're like, whoa, okay. And so Riku's there, and it's like, hey, I can steal. You did the beginning of the game, so you're like, yeah, I know you can steal. We already did this. And so, regardless, it's different, though. It's a treasure chest. You can steal from it. Funny thing is, though, I think it's one of those bunny yips comes in and, like, hits, and you're like, whoa, okay, like, out of nowhere, man, out of the brush. A wild Pokemon, I mean, it was essentially what it was. And so...
Seriously. But the funny thing is, so from that chest, you get 2 bomb cores, right? And one thing I didn't know when I first played this game is the tutorial battle, it's sort of, so she gets an overdrive, it's trying to teach you how to use her overdrive, which you haven't seen yet. It's Mix, and basically, Mix takes you to the item list, and you select 2 items, you mix them together, it doesn't affect. So it kind of wants you to use those bomb cores. I would say don't use them. I would just say do something like really cheap and easy to get, like a power sphere and a grenade, because the bomb cores are kind of, you won't get too many of those.
Yeah. Well, because if you do use 2 bomb cores, that creates a firestorm, and it looks like it uses like maybe Fyra or something, but it uses it like 6 times?
4 times, 6 times. Yeah,
it's a lot, and it does like 650 damage. So I mean, like way overkill on that enemy, right? And so it's like it's a little absurd. Maybe don't use it. To Alex's point, it doesn't make you use it. It tells you to use the bomb chorus because it's part of the dialogue and it's part of the fun thing. But you don't have to use it. You can use anything. And so
you can kill them with just frag grenade, which I think is power sphere plus power sphere or something like that. You can just, and then that way you get those 2 bomb cores. And the sweet thing about that is you can teach Ifrit Fyra with that.
Do they still get really excited if you just use something simple to kill it?
Yeah, they do the same reaction.
So it is
these tutorial battles are fixed
that
dialogue.
Is hysterical then, because so if you did just use Firestorm, I did because I was like, heck yeah, man. I mean, even though maybe I shouldn't, especially with my playthrough, but it does Firestorm. It's insane. And so Titus and Walker are both like, whoa, like what was that? They're like, holy cow, we're so glad you're on our team, because Yeah, dude, a little girl just busts out, like she gets hit, it's like, oh, why you? And that's what she throws. It's like, whoa, you're insane, literally insane, lady. Like, holy
Yeah.
cow.
And that YU too. I think she says something snarky like when she gets hit and it's an overdrive. It's like, you should know I'm scary when I get mad. It's like,
That's
okay, Riku, calm
fantastic.
down.
Yes. Yeah, so you learned that Riku's a megalomaniac who likes to mix like alchemical things to just lay desolate decimation in her path. So okay, anyways, she's on our team. So right, if you just move down the path, you'll encounter a couple of chests as usual. You get, what do we got? We got an antidote ×4. It's like kind of right there, and then at the very end of the
Yeah.
path is a mega potion.
Yeah, and this is a unique area. I'll just say, like, this is kind of the first time in the game where you might want to farm. Because if you hadn't had taken Kamari down Riku's path, this is the first time you've got steel. So some kind of cool stuff that you can get here. So this is an area where a bunch of these, almost every battle is going to have a chest. You can get various things from it. Sometimes it's a mega potion, X potion. Sometimes you can get something super rare like a stamina tablet,
Oh, nice.
which is awesome. If you use it in battle, it gives one character doubles their HP for that battle. But you can also get things like, so Poison Fang is a rare steal from the B-type enemy. It's a 1 in 8 chance, so pretty low, but if you get a few, it's nice. Sleeping Powder, same thing from the Wolf type, the Garm. Remedy from the Ochu, and then I think you can even get Hypello potions from the Bunyip.
And this is the first probably opportunity, like you said, because I mean, Kamari, maybe you took him down Riku's, but even then, like Riku's is a little out there, so you may have not had steel even for that long. But regardless, you have it now. I still don't have it, so I still can't steal. But you know, whatever. Only thing left for you to do now, though, is to just basically move forward. If you got that mega potion, just keep going. You're kind of seeing you're going into some structure or something. Here you are, you're in Guado Salami, and if you don't call it Guado Salami, I question you, because you have to. I mean, it's there, it's in the name.
But you kind of hit on something that I never thought about. Well, what is it's like a tunnel or something? I mean, it's like underground. It's in this weird
Yeah,
structure like a beehive or something,
it
like you say.
yeah,
It's
it
odd.
might be a wooden structure or something.
Huh,
It looks like it's maybe carved into the actual earth itself, but yeah, the Guado are quite interesting, and it's also
like a hobbit
it's not.
hole or something.
Is this it? Like, where do
Like
they all
five
live?
five
You know, is
shops.
this is not a civilization? Like, what in the world? Like, there's two houses. Like,
Well, they got the whole Blitzball team here, so
well, okay, so that's their
that's at least
that's their entire
7 people.
civilization is Blitzball team and a couple maesters. So, anyways, you do get an introduction by Trommel. He comes on up. He's this very touchy feely guy who tries to sit here and is like, oh, you know, we're expecting you, Lady Yuna, come with us. And he like reaches in and it's like,
This way.
whoa, dude, hold up.
Trumbull's voice is just so annoying, right? It's like, this way, please.
Yes. Walker's like, whoa, 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 you know, and they're like, he's like, oh, okay. He's like, oh, maybe I should explain it first to you. Yeah, so yeah, you know, so apparently Seymour has important business with Yuna. They invite him to his mansion, you know, and so they all leave, and then Rikku is the last, and she's like showing you what she can do, which is kind of goes in with Summoner Soul earlier, which is you can now customize equipment. So the exact same thing as all those items and everything you get, you can use to give different status effects or different things on, you know, your weapons and your armor, and it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, this is really it kind of sucks that you have to wait this far into the game. You're what, like 6 or 8 hours into the game or
Yeah.
something like that, right? It's quite far into the game. This is the first time you can actually customize. And basically, yeah, the way this works is that if you have any equipment that has an empty slot on it, you can put in all kinds of different abilities. A lot of them you're probably again not going to have the items for, but
Yeah.
for example, like you can use, I think, 10 ability spheres to put sensor on there, or you can use, 8 bomb cores for fireproof. You can use 8 of those dragon scales, for example, for waterproof, things like that. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do now.
Yeah, restorative items will give you different like HP increases and stuff like that. And we'll get into a lot of this later because again, you know, your item list will start to only build from here now that you got steel. And so, you know, we'll start to unlock more and more stuff and we'll have just more to talk about then. Well, that is actually where we're going to stop it. The inn is right there to the right. So you go in there and you save it, and that's where we're going to pause for now. We just always appreciate you all spending time with us. We like to thank you for that. And we have our website at finalstop.finalfantasytalks.com. Hopefully by now, because, the last episode was Blitzball and we recorded in the past and then we put it on the future. It's all very confusing, but, hopefully everything's good with Blitzball. We're still building up that list. Blog's going, everything's up and running, and then also our Instagram. Make sure you stop by there to see our different clips and media that we've been posting about our episodes through a week.
Yeah, and we always love to read what you guys have to say in the comment section, so please continue leaving those comments.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, I'm Mark.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks.